I'm Roman Caldwell. I'm 47, and for most of my life, I was the forgotten son of a family that built empires on silence. The Caldwells were born into legacy, bred for legacy, and bled for legacy, except me. While my siblings wore tailored suits and inherited bank chairs, I was the one they locked out, scrubbed from the record, banished without a second thought. Maybe it was because I asked too many questions. Maybe it was because I remembered what they needed buried. For 17 years, I lived without a name, a home, or a past, until last week when I received an inheritance notice with my name signed on it. If they thought erasing me once was enough, they're about to learn what happens when the dead come back with receipts. The ferry docked at Barrows Hollow under a blanket of fog so thick it muffled even the sound of its own engine, the kind of fog that swallows secrets whole. Roman stepped off with nothing but a duffel bag and an encrypted USB drive clenched in his palm like a loaded gun. His boots hit the wooden planks hard, deliberate, loud, like he wanted them to hear. He didn't look back. A silver Lexus idled by the edge of the pier. Not his ride, not yet. Roman didn't believe in coincidences, not anymore. He walked the shoreline, past rusting crab traps and shuttered bait shops, until he reached the lot. No welcome committee, no family, just the echo of seagulls and the weight of old ghosts. The ones who know your name but forget your story are the most dangerous. His father used to say that. Roman never forgot. Inside the glove box of the rental truck, burner phone, disposable credit cards, and a map marked in red pen, Caldwell Estate, the place where it all ended, or started. He parked a quarter-mile from the estate's southern fence. Climbing over was like climbing back into a skin he'd burned long ago. There were motion sensors on the north side. He remembered because he'd installed them himself, years before being disowned. The estate hadn't changed. Same manicured lies, same sterile perfection, but the windows had grown darker, like they were watching back. Roman crouched in the brush, pulled out a pair of compact binoculars. People inside, dressed in black. A memorial. The Caldwells never mourned quietly. Too many cameras. He moved fast. East wing. Service door. Locked. Not for long. 2 pins. Tension wrench. 30 seconds. Click. The library smelled like cedar and power. Mahogany shelves. Velvet drapes. And, over the fireplace, the portrait of Arthur Caldwell, the man who gave Roman his name, then took it back. Roman slipped inside the wall panel, a shortcut only 3 people ever knew. 2 were dead. The third, drunk beyond usefulness. He emerged behind the kitchen, slid out the back, and disappeared down a side path toward town. Jonah Graves looked like he'd aged 20 years since Roman last saw him. Half-bald, bloodshot eyes, nicotine-stained teeth. A glass of something. Brown clinked in his hand even at 9 a.m. "You weren't supposed to come back," Jonah muttered, not looking up. "Neither were you," Roman said. "And yet, here we are." Jonah coughed, gestured to a folder on the counter. "Your name's on the paperwork, Roman. Inheritance division, real estate, assets, full legal reinstatement." "I didn't sign anything." "That's the problem. Someone did. And it's airtight. They're already filing with probate court." Roman froze. "You saying someone forged my signature and claimed I'm back to claim inheritance?" Jonah looked him dead in the eye. "I'm saying someone resurrected you on paper. And now they're moving money under your name. Millions." The room felt suddenly too small. Roman backed toward the door. "Wait," Jonah said. "You don't get it. If they did this, brought you back without your consent, then whatever they're hiding, it's bigger than money." Roman stared out the dusty window toward the hills beyond the estate. "If my name is on those papers, someone brought me back from the dead." The vault was colder than it should have been. Roman's breath curled in the dim air, illuminated by the red pulse of the emergency light overhead. 1 blink per second, like a countdown. He stepped over the wire. Pressure sensitive. Familiar make. Probably reinstalled after the last remodel. Arthur Caldwell always said, "A man's wealth is measured by what he hides, not what he shows." Roman pressed forward, boots silent on the polished concrete. The Caldwell Foundation archive was supposed to be a storage space for philanthropic records, donation receipts, and non-profit ledgers. But the real history, the family's rot, was buried behind steel doors at the bottom of this building. He reached the final chamber, biometric lock, Retinal scan pad glowed blue. Roman took a breath, slid his thumb into the scanner. The light blinked once, then turned green. They never removed me from the system. He pulled the handle. Inside, rows of leather-bound ledgers sat like coffins, filing cabinets built like safes. No windows. One exit. He moved fast. Third cabinet. Bottom drawer. Coded label. INH called. 1739-02. He yanked it open. A thick packet. Gold sealed. Stamped 2 weeks ago. Probate Office of Fulton County. Signature on the first page. Roman A. Caldwell. He flipped through. Signature matched. Date of birth. SSN. Validated by notary. He didn't sign this. Next name down. Nell Prescott. Listed as co-heir. His heart didn't race. Yet. Roman had learned not to panic until the exit disappeared. He pocketed the document, shut the drawer. That's when the lights died. Black. The hum of backup kicked in, but slower than it should have. Red emergency floodlights flicked on, low, useless. A noise, sharp, distant. A heel clicking the tile. Then silence. Roman flattened against the steel filing cabinet. Hand went for the Glock taped under his coat. More footsteps. Not fast, controlled. Someone knew the layout. Someone knew he'd come. He edged toward the side wall, eyes adjusting. A figure passed between light columns, just for a breath. Tall, thin, face obscured by a ball cap. Roman exhaled through his teeth. He counted steps. 3, 2. Now. He darted right, through the auxiliary storage door, slammed it behind him, jammed the latch with a metal binder clip. Not a long-term solution. He needed out. The side passage twisted through an old maintenance crawl space, mostly unused, damp, rust-smelling. He ducked through and emerged into a rear stairwell, unused since 2007. According to a plaque on the wall, clattering behind him, they weren't alone. He sprinted, up, 2 flights, door marked exit. He pushed through and ran straight into headlights. Cutscene. He ducked behind a hedge. Tires screeched. SUV peeled away into the fog. No plates. Roman crouched, heart hammering. Then his burner buzzed. Unknown number. 1 text. How does it feel to be worth something again? He stared at it. No reply. He didn't need more riddles. Next morning, he met Clara Vance at the corner booth of a Greasy Spoon diner on Hoover Street, the only place in town where no one asked questions. She slid into the booth across from him, black hoodie up, eyes sharp. You're late. Someone tried to erase me again. From inside the archive this time. She raised an eyebrow. You sure it wasn't just you being paranoid? They knew the security timing. They knew how to move. This isn't paranoia. This is choreography. Clara tossed a folded newspaper on the table. Headline: Roman Caldwell listed as co-heir to 47 Verdiers Family Trust subhead. Disgraced son resurrected in sealed probate filing. Roman's jaw tightened. Guess the press got it before I did. Clara leaned in, her voice low. Roman, you were declared legally dead. No death certificate. Just disappeared from all federal records. Then, this drops, signed, sealed, delivered. He closed his eyes for half a second. No one brings back a ghost unless they plan to bury it again. She slid a flash drive across the table. I pulled a metadata scrape from the probate system. Want to guess whose login filed your reinstatement? He didn't speak. Graham Caldwell. Of course. Outside, the air was sharp with winter. Roman pulled his coat tight. His gaze scanned every rooftop, every parked car. No such thing as paranoia when they're actually watching. The wind carried the scent of sea salt and gasoline. He opened the manila envelope again, something he missed. Tucked behind the last page, an old scan of a handwritten memo. No letterhead, just a date and a sentence. If Roman returns, activate Protocol N. Prescott will handle the division. His blood went cold. Prescott. Again. They weren't just using him. They were using his return to unlock something bigger. If Clara was right, if he was legally declared dead, then someone high up had fabricated federal reversals. Someone with access, authority, power. And now, they had his name. You think they want to share that money, Roman? They brought you back to bury you twice. The message came at 2:17 a.m. No name, no warning, just 4 words. Where the grapes died. Roman stared at the screen, jaw tight. The vineyard. Of course. The Caldwell vineyard had been abandoned since the fire that accidentally gutted its main barn, the same fire that got Roman exiled. No one went near it. Too many rumors, too many memories. He didn't hesitate, grabbed his jacket, checked the Glock, pocketed the flash drive. No time for questions. Fog draped the back roads like a shroud. Trees blurred past. Every turn sharper than he remembered, every mile closer to something rotten. Places don't forget what people bury, his father once said. They just wait for the wrong night to dig it back up. Tonight was the wrong night. Roman parked downwind of the barn. No headlights, no sound, but the soft hum of his engine cooling in the damp air. The barn stood like a skeleton. Half-burned walls, rusted sheet metal hanging like loose teeth. Vines crept through cracks in the foundation. His boots sank into soft mud. He stepped inside. Flashlight on. Beam caught on shattered glass. A ladder. An old plow. Rusted to hell. Then, something out of place. A fresh trail of dirt. Disturbed. Shoveled. He followed it. Back corner. Beneath where the grape press used to be. A single board was loose, slightly raised. He knelt. Moved the board. The smell hit first. Then the body. Wrapped in a tarp. Bloated. Face unrecognizable. Roman gagged. Stumbled back. Not his father. Wrong suit. Wrong height. But familiar watch. He pulled out the ID from the pocket. Elias Ward. Caldwell family's accountant. Missing 17 years. The last man to see Roman before the fire. Dead. There was something next to the body. A tape recorder. Old. Cracked. He pressed play. Crackling static. Then a voice. Hoarse. Dying. Roman, if you're hearing this, I didn't die of natural causes. And neither will you. Not if you stay. Click. Footsteps outside. Roman snapped off the flashlight, moved to the edge of the broken wall. Gun up. Slow breath. Someone was here. He peeked. A silhouette stood at the tree line. Still. Watching. Then gone. Cutscene. He ran. Through rows of rotting vines. Rain starting. Wind slicing his face. Reached the truck. Jumped in. Peeled out. But the dread followed, because if Elias was dead back then, someone had been hiding a body for 17 years, and someone had just used it to send Roman a message. Clara opened the door with a frown and a Glock in her hand. Are you bleeding? No. Then why the hell do you look like you dug your way out of a grave? Because I think I did. Roman dropped the ID on her table. Then the tape. She listened. Pale. Jesus, Roman. He was killed, buried under the barn. I found him tonight. Why now? Because someone wanted me to. Clara's eyes narrowed. This is a trigger. He nodded. Someone planted Elias like a landmine, and I just stepped on it. She poured whiskey into 2 glasses. Roman didn't drink. Tonight, he did. Outside, a car passed slow. They both paused. No second pass, but the headlights weren't normal. Too bright. Too slow. Clara whispered, "Someone's watching the house." Roman exhaled. If this is a game, someone's not playing to win. They're playing to erase. Later, he replayed the tape alone, listened for background noise, a clock, a voice, a second recording. Nothing, except, near the end, a whisper, faint, filtered. He cranked the volume. Protocol N. Initiated. He froze. Clara looked up. What? He rewound. Played it again. A second whisper. Prescott will clean the blood. Roman stared at the wall, mind racing. The barn wasn't just a burial site, it was a reset button. They buried Elias. Then they buried Roman. Now, they were unburying him. For a reason. A cold whisper behind Roman in the dark. You weren't supposed to find him. Rain clung to the windshield like static, the kind that blurred more than it washed. Roman sat behind the wheel, staring through it at the Caldwell estate. Black silhouettes moved inside, high heels on marble, laughter like knives clinking in glasses. A memorial, of course, for Arthur Caldwell, dead for years, but they'd never buried the crown. Just waited for a moment like this. He checked the watch. 9:43 p.m. Enough time. You don't crash a Caldwell event, Clara had warned him on the phone. You infiltrate it. Quiet, clean. He smiled. They already dug up my name. Might as well give them a body to match. He wore a suit lifted from Jonah's closet, too loose in the shoulders, too stiff in the chest, the kind of suit people didn't question if you walked in like you belonged. He did. Roman entered through the side service hallway, past the kitchens, past the same silver-inlaid hall where his face had once hung. Now gone. Caldwell blood was everywhere. Cousins, advisors, silent partners. He passed portraits, stared at each one. One thought kept circling in his head. Blood only matters when it stains the carpet. Cut scene. A woman brushed past him, hand grazing his. No glance, just a whisper. They know you're here. He kept walking. Slower now. Then he saw her. Nell Prescott, hair pinned high, diamond cuffs, a look like a scalpel. Talking to Graham, Roman's older brother, the anointed heir, the careful liar, the one who signed the papers. Roman drifted closer, just within earshot. "We only need his presence," Nell said, voice too calm. "Legally, that's all that matters. After that, it's just cleanup." Roman's spine stiffened. Legally present. He hadn't filed anything, but someone had. In his name. You don't kill the body if the name already does the job. He stepped back. Too late. Nell turned, smiled, walked toward him like a slow-moving guillotine. "Well, well," she said. "The ghost walks." Roman didn't smile. "I want the truth, not your version, not Graham's." "You already know it," she said, leaning in. "You were never supposed to outlive the fire, Roman." He froze. The air snapped around them. She knew about the fire. He grabbed her wrist, just enough to hold. What was in that barn? She leaned close, whispered like a prayer. "Insurance." Cut scene. Security moved in. Roman turned fast, slipping through the glass door, down the balcony steps into the vineyard. Lights behind him, voices, shouts. "East side, don't let him hit the road." He ran. Mud splashed his legs. Grapevines clawed his coat. A spotlight cut across the field. He dropped low, crawled, breathing sharp. Behind the processing shed, headlights flared. Too close. He ducked, reached for the gate. Clara's voice, sharp, calm. "Get in." Her car was running. Passenger door open. He jumped in. They sped off just as security hit the gravel behind them. Back at the motel, Clara didn't speak. She just threw him a towel and sat down, breathing like she'd held it the whole way. "You weren't supposed to see her yet," she said. "I wasn't supposed to survive her either." He tossed the wet towel, grabbed the drive, plugged it into her laptop. "What are we looking for?" she asked. "Anything on the trust." Files loaded, folders flickered open, then one hit. N. Prescott, Contingency Protocol. Clara clicked. A scanned memo. If R. Caldwell is declared active post-event, assets split per original prenuptial, diverted through N. Prescott shell. Graham maintains front-facing control. All forensic paths end at Roman. Clara stared. "They didn't just fake your return." Roman nodded. "They built an empire on it." The motel phone rang. Once. Twice. Roman picked up. A voice. Distorted. Synthetic. "You were supposed to be a signature, Roman, not a witness." Then click. Line dead. He turned to Clara. "If we're both targets now, who the hell's pulling the strings?" The old chapel sat on the edge of Barrows Hollow, like a forgotten secret, half buried in moss, choked by ivy, and watching. Roman and Clara stood at its gates just before dawn. The fog was heavy. The silence even heavier. "You sure this is it?" Clara whispered. Roman didn't answer. He was already moving. Inside, pews cracked beneath their weight. The air tasted of damp stone and old breath. They didn't need the main hall. They needed what was underneath. Roman found the false panel behind the altar. It scraped open with a low groan. Dust spiraled in the air like ash. "Some families bury their sins," Roman muttered. "Ours archived them." They descended. The crypt smelled like rusted iron and betrayal. Shelves of sealed boxes, burnt-edge ledgers, forgotten wealth. Roman moved straight to the southeast alcove, his father's storage sector, box marked Cal Arc PNP. He broke the seal. Inside, an uncut diamond pouch, a sealed envelope, and a ledger bound in black leather. Clara opened it slowly, page after page. Shell companies, bank routing numbers, wire instructions, transfers to Zurich, Cayman, Malta, all signed off under aliases. N. Prescott. Roman exhaled hard. This wasn't just inheritance. This was laundering. International. Clara looked up, and it's still active. See the dates. Last transaction, 3 weeks ago, all under Roman's legal identity. He flipped to the back. A letter fell out, handwritten, familiar script. Arthur Caldwell. If this reaches you, Roman, then it means they've activated the contingency. Don't trust the estate. Don't trust the foundation. The name Prescott is a blade. If they brought you back, it's because they need a scapegoat, and they've picked you. A loud click echoed through the crypt. Clara froze. Pressure plate. They looked down. Small red diode blinked on the floor. Roman pulled her sideways. Gunshots ripped through the ceiling. Stone chunks exploded around them. Dust. Brick. Echoes like war. Move! They ran through the side tunnel, ducking low. Footsteps echoed from above. Boots. Tactical. Not security. Mercenary. Someone had triggered the trap to collapse the vault. They dove through the final exit hatch as the ceiling behind them caved in. Sunlight exploded across their faces. They were outside. Clara's face was bleeding. Roman had cuts on his arms. She spat dirt. That wasn't a warning. Roman nodded. No, that was a cleanup. Cutscene. Back at the motel, Clara patched herself up. Roman replayed the recording again. Slow, filtered background noise. A clink. A clock chime. He isolated it. Sounded like a plane hangar, Clara said. Roman froze. The Caldwell airfield. Clara's jaw clenched. Of course, offshore accounts. They're moving the money tonight. That's why they need you dead today. Roman grabbed the envelope from the crypt. Inside was a second ledger, more detailed, tied directly to transactions under Roman's name, and a USB key. Clara plugged it in, files loaded, photos, contracts, then video. Footage of Nell Prescott and Graham Caldwell inside a private bank, authorizing a transfer under Roman's power of attorney, stamped, sealed, fingerprinted. Clara covered her mouth. They forged everything. He stared at the screen. This isn't about family anymore, Roman whispered. This is legacy laundering. Then expose it. They'll kill us first. She looked at him, defiant. Then we go down swinging. Roman pulled a burner phone from his coat, scrolled, selected 5 press contacts, attached the video, the ledger, the files. Then he paused. Clara raised an eyebrow. You scared? Roman shook his head. I'm choosing the explosion, not the fire. He hit send. Outside, a car pulled into the lot. Tinted windows. Then another. A black van. Clara peeked through the blinds. They're not waiting for nightfall. Roman chambered around. They don't get to write my ending. A knock at the door, then another, then silence. A voice called out. You want the truth, Roman? Then die with it. Gunshots erupted. Gunfire tore through the motel door. Roman dropped low. Clara yanked the table over. Splinters flew. Bullets bit drywall. 2 men entered. Tactical, fast. Not amateurs. Roman shot first. 1 dropped. Clara hit the lights. Darkness swallowed them. Second man retreated into the hall. Clara moved left. Roman followed through the broken side window, onto wet pavement. Alley, trash bins, exhaust. The van peeled out behind the building. Tires screamed. A figure in the back raised a weapon. Roman turned, fired once. Glass exploded. Van swerved, slammed a hydrant. Steam hissed into the air like a warning. They ran. Cutscene. 30 minutes later, the private airfield loomed ahead. Concrete runways bleeding into fog. Hangars humming under floodlights. Roman adjusted the bulletproof vest Clara found in her trunk. Too tight. Too late. You sure they're still here? She asked. They move the money tonight. Offshore. End of legacy, end of evidence. They think you're dead. Let's make sure they wish I was. Inside the main hangar, a sleek Gulfstream sat ready. Graham paced in front of the jet's open stairs, shouting into a phone, frantic. 2 bodyguards, 1 driver. Roman moved like a shadow through crates, steel beams, and jet fumes. Clara patched the Bluetooth earpiece into her phone. The mic inside Roman's jacket was live, streaming directly to 5 media outlets. Truth had already left the station. All he had to do now was survive long enough for it to land. Roman stepped into the light. Graham froze. You're dead, he breathed. Roman raised the pistol. Not yet. You don't understand. This isn't just about money. I know, it never was. Nell stepped out from the shadows behind the plane, calm, controlled, hairpinned, coat-tailored. She smiled. "Roman," she said, "I warned you not to dig. You buried the wrong man. You were useful. That's all. A name, a legal tool." Roman kept the gun steady. "And Elias? My father? What were they?" "Collateral." Behind her, 2 guards drew weapons. Roman fired. Clara sniped from the catwalk above. 2 down. Graham ducked. Nell didn't move. She stepped forward, raised a remote detonator. "You shoot me, the entire hangar goes up. We're standing on it." Roman blinked. "And your name dies with me," she said. "Think about it. You go public, every dollar you expose becomes radioactive. No one touches it. You get no justice, only chaos." Roman lowered the gun, not because she was right, because he was done playing their game. "Who said I need justice?" He tapped his earpiece. The stream had been live for 17 minutes. Nell's eyes widened. "You—" Sirens cut the sky. Red and blue lights washed across steel. FBI vehicles blocked the exits. Helicopter blades beat overhead. Nell turned to run. Roman tackled her. They crashed against the hangar wall. "You don't get to walk away," he hissed. "Not this time." Cutscene. Clara watched from the tarmac, breath frozen in her lungs. Agents swarmed the plane. Graham was cuffed. Nell screamed as she was dragged off. Roman stood under the floodlights, blood on his collar, eyes calm. The storm was over, but something colder had settled in. Later, at the press conference, Roman didn't say much. He didn't need to. The documents spoke louder. The footage, the ledger, the voice recordings, the blood. That night, Clara poured him coffee on the motel balcony. Wind howled. "You okay?" Roman stared at the horizon. "I spent half my life trying to prove I was more than a mistake." He took a sip. "Turns out, the truth doesn't need permission, just timing." Clara nodded. Silence hung between them. Roman leaned back. "They stole my name, my future, but they forgot the simplest rule." "What's that?" "You don't bury a man who knows where the bones are." In the distance, the first headline broke across every major news network. "Caldwell Empire collapses under fraud. Ring tied to resurrected heir." And beneath it, his face. No longer erased, no longer forgotten. Not everyone survives the fire, but some come back carrying it.